When it comes to pursuing a dream or a vision, I don't know, I think it was about in 2013, I brought my football for a reason tonight because I want to use that example of how this comes into play. And I'm going to step to this side of the stage, and some of you guys have seen me do this illustration. If this was the year 2000, which is the year that we got started in this business, and I threw this football out into the future on the other side of that stage as I go through this illustration tonight, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be 2026. So I'm going to go back in time, and I'm going to talk about to where we are today. So if I threw this football high enough and I was fast enough, I could get to the other side and catch it. So when it comes to your dream or your vision, you've got to cast your own dream or your own vision into the future. And you're going to have to run in that direction for it. It's just like in football, you're going to have to quarterback your own dream. And when you start pursuing your dream, a team is going to start to form around you. This is the reason why we read, we listen, and associate, is because we're dealing with people. The beautiful thing about our business is there are no bosses. Unlike when I was in corporate America with Procter & Gamble and J&J, they got hiring and firing capabilities. Here, nobody can hire and fire you. If you don't do what you're supposed to do, if your teammate come to you and go off on you, you be like, man, I'm a grown man, you can't tell me what to do. So we operate on leadership principles through influence, which requires that we have to grow ourselves. So now the team knows that I'm not tech savvy, but I'm gonna try to work with this. It's called Elmo. So I'm gonna see if I can do this here. So, oh yeah, I can do this. I can do this. Oh yeah, this is my type of stuff. Because it don't involve no real technology, it's a piece of paper with a marker. That's how I do it. In fact, when Raymond Abernathy and I got started in the business, we used to have a cheat sheet on a piece of paper. Most people don't know that we've had on the board. So this is going to work well. So ladies and gentlemen, tonight, this is going to be 2000. This is going to be 2026. When Raymond and I got started in this business years ago, as I illustrated this football, this is where we are. This is where General Brady calls it life in the zone. And I'm going to call it the end zone. This is where Chris Brady talks about today's the day. I was listening to that audio a couple weeks ago, and I've listened to it a million times over those years, but I've never heard it like I've heard it before. Because I just think where we are in the business and my understanding and growth and development, what we're doing. So we got involved in the business in 2000. We tossed that football out this way. Over here we're running, and over here is your vision. So it's out, you gotta move forward with it, as everyone has been talked about tonight. And we call it the dream, the struggle, and the victory. So as I go through this morning, here we are in 2026. Here we are in January, February. And coming out of here, Warren talks about this book, I believe it's in one of his books, Launch the Leadership Revolution. He's got so many out there. But he talks about getting in the current. And I'm hopefully coming into the major, you had some momentum. Your whole goal for all the new people tonight is to get them around this community so they can swim in this pool that this current has been created. How many of you all listening to the talks last night felt the passion of our leaders, or you wish you had more people here to be a part of what we're doing? What I want our guests to hear understand here tonight, you're not getting in a business of selling some specific physical product. The product is us, the product is you. We are in the business of developing people, which is a very powerful thing, especially back to the Constitution when Shane and Janelle were talking about last night, freedom, because in every single person here this morning, freedom is built into you. But there's a system that is decided, we call it the financial matrix, that's decided we are going to own you, we are going to control you. And I like Warren and Lori, Chris and Terry, because they fight. I'll almost give an example. If you get into a barroom fight, you want to have Warren and Chris with you because you don't want nobody who's going to kind of, I'll just use the word scare out on you. If I was going to use a colloquialism, I'd use a different word. Ladies and gentlemen, we got involved in this business and we cast a vision of what we wanted the future to be. And then we start running in that direction. And through that process, there is stuff that's going to happen to you. In fact, I'm going to touch and share on some of those things this morning as well. So here's what I call seeing the end zone. You got to see where you want to go. Y'all can't spell, but y'all got that. See in the end zone. Now, Cassandra Mathis is down in the audience. Cassandra, I know you can't read my handwriting, so that's seeing in the zone. You got to, well, by any means necessary, you got to get a picture of the future that you want, because it's very, very powerful. Right now, if I asked everyone to close their eyes and say, picture a red car, your mind is going to pop a red car into your mind. And that's what we got to do. That's the reason we encourage people to dream, whether it's the houses, the cars, which some of our leaders shared last night, are really tapping into what we call your purpose. We've got to get our subconscious involved in this process, because our conscious mind is just not going to do it. And when you listen to Chris Brady in his audio Life in the Zone, something happened in Chris's head, jacked him up. I love General Brady, our CEO's expressions last night, how fast that car was going. Chris was like, okay, I'm done, time to tap out. So ladies and gentlemen, this is seeing the zone. What I really want to get to is playing the game. That's the reason why I put that on that lifeline, because here is what that journey looks like. Here is 2000 again, and 2026. When you first get involved in business, if you're really paying attention, you should be genuinely excited. It's going to be a high time for you. You're going to be driving home wanting to carry your car. But I promise you, there is going to be a dip in your emotional level. And then there's going to be another uptime, what I call it. So you're excited. There's going to be a little downtime. If you stay the course, once you throw your vision out in the future, there's going to be another uptime. And then there's going to be another downtime. And then there's going to be another uptime. And eventually, as I listen to Chris Brady, something snaps in your mind, you enter life in the zone. Doesn't mean you won't have any more downtimes, but it moves into a whole nother gear. This is where I believe our entire organization is. So in 2000, Raymond and I got involved in business. I'm going to share some of those stories along that journey, because there were, and there have been some good times, and there have been some difficult times. But we kept running towards the future until you get to the points like, this is it, baby. This is it. This is it. And this is what the Rulers and the Bradys were articulating to us last night. So I remember when we first got started in the business. At the time I was working for Johnson & Johnson. My wife was a stay-at-home mom. We had just built a brand new house. We were on 1.5 acres. So we were, quote unquote, living the American dream. But I had read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And that book made me mad in a very powerful way. Now, this is before I had gotten my phone call about the business.